Hello, dear students. First of all, the Bajirao IAS Academy team wishes you a cheerful Happy New Year and hope your dream comes true. You become successful. Whatever you are aiming for, that aim should be achieved and your potential should be enhanced so that you become a successful person. And we and our team are with you to help you, to cooperate with you so that you have the potential and that needs to be encouraged. So let's start with our discussion. Today is 1st of January and maybe many of you are planning to have a break, and even you may be like studying today as well, but try to make resolution and try to stick with that resolution so that your success will be your steps that you are taking now and that will be achieved in the future. So let's move with our discussion, and we are going to discuss two important editorial. The first editorial will be related to floods and preventive measure. Here we will be understanding in the context of Tamil Nadu recent flood. And here, like, the government or the bureaucrats take decisions, specifically preventive measures, but that needs review. Why? Because we only take decision based on the visible consequence but not on the basis of hidden consequence as well. So here we will be focusing more on the hidden consequence and how we can have a better decision making if we try to incorporate the hidden consequence as well. Then further we will be shifting towards the second editorial, where we will be trying to understand the faults of Aadhaar payment bridge system, and also we are going to understand what is this Aadhaar payment bridge system and what are the lacunas in this system, because this topic will be related to the context of the new government decision that from 1 January onwards the Manrega wages payment should be based on Aadhaar payment bridge system, and that can be important question for your prelims as well, for the mains as well. Okay, so let's start with our discussion, and the first topic you can relate with GS paper 2, sorry, GS paper 1. Okay, so when we talk about the Tamil Nadu, you know that Tamil Nadu faces flood related situation, and also in 2015 there was like disastrous flood and that took many lives, and apart from that, loss of infrastructure, loss of the fiscal balance of the government as well. But here we will trying to understand that whatever preventive measures that we take, it needs to be reviewed, it needs to be incorporated with the hidden consequence as well. Like when we talk about cyclone Michang or any other disaster that may come in the future related to the flooding. Okay, so there is the government officials or the bureaucrats, they need to take decision like how we will be going to mitigate the flood crisis, or specifically related to the preventive measure. Preventive measures means like the disaster yet not come but it will be coming. So whatever the preparedness decision that needs to be taken, that is called as preventive measures. Okay, but whenever we take the preventive measures, whenever the officials take the preventive measures, they ignore the hidden consequences, and this causes much more like a hazard like scenario, specifically to the people who are elders or who are incapable of having the physical strength. Okay, so we have to take the case study first of all. Suppose this 2023 flood approached. Okay, so in this 2023 flood, the bureaucrats or the official took the decision like we will be shutting off the electricity. So when the electricity was cut off, what happened? Like the city came into darkness. Okay, But here we have to understand that it can have a big repercussions on the older age people. Why? Because these older age people have lack of physical capacity or the capability to move with consciousness. Okay, and they can face challenges. They have low vision. Okay, that is one thing. And thus, if this electricity cut off is for longer duration, so it can impact them much more. It can impact the children as well. It can impact the family household as well. So that is one thing. So this article is saying that this type of decision is necessary, but it should be based on like a scalability. And when we talk about a scalability, that means depending on the impact of the region, impact on the region, the decision should be much more responsible. In the simple meaning, let's say there is two location in Chennai. Okay, one is A and one is B, and this B is located nearby the like the seashore, okay, or the coast. So whenever this cyclone came, so the impact on this region will be very high. And this A city is like in the interior of Tamil Nadu. It is very far away from the coast. So the impact of the cyclone or the flood is much more less. But what the authority do, like they cut off the electricity in an equitable manner, like they cut off the electricity here, they cut off the electricity here. Okay, so a scalability means like the cutting off the electricity should be like more focused towards this region, not for this region, because it can have hidden consequences in terms of the older age population or the older age people faces various challenges like vision issue, and they lives alone as well. So this can also lead to the hazardous scenario. Okay, so that is the point which has been highlighted. And apart from that, there is another case study of 2015 floods. And in 2015 floods, you know that Chennai faced disastrous consequences of it. But if we try to analyze the causes in a deeper manner, then you will find that it was like decision fault, decision making crisis that led to the hazardous consequence, because there was a delay in the release of water from the reservoir. The Chennai flood was due to excessive rainfall, and due to that, the rainfall was accumulating in the dam, specifically from the river. Okay, so the level was rising, but there was no decision to release the water. Okay, so water was getting accumulated and accumulated, and what happened? Like there was a need to have a sudden release of the water, and because of the sudden release, the region, the lower region, got flooded. Okay, so that like talked about the crisis in the decision making, and hence it highlights the importance of careful decision making in the crisis situation, because we know that in a normal scenario we can have a good decision making, but when it comes to make decision in the crisis situation, it needs to be careful. Okay, and we have also taken the example of the old age population, what the crisis they can face, and these are like hidden consequences. So a decision maker, whether it is government official or the bureaucrat, have to like analyze the hidden consequences as well, and need to balance their decision in any of the crisis or the disaster which is approaching. Okay, and we know that when we talk about Tamil Nadu has large elderly population, and many of whom they lives alone. Okay, so thus an area wide power disruption is a significant hazard. I already make you understand about this, and hence choice of decision makers should be held accountable as well. They need to be asked questions like how you are taking these decisions. Okay, so accountability needs to be fixed so that the decision making becomes more comprehensive, will be including more analysis and approach. However, we can say that making decision in any crisis, even you will become officers, and if there is any crisis, it can be related to any crisis, it becomes very challenging, and the challenge is related to your emotions. Suppose if there is a family crisis, there is a family like matter, so there is difficulty in taking the decision. Okay, so same applies here to any crisis. Making the decision becomes very emotionally and psychologically challenging, but the decision needs to be taken, whether it is emotionally challenged or anything, it needs to be taken. But what the officials do, they take the decision, but based on conservative options. Why they take conservative options? Why they do not apply the innovative ideas? Why do not they explore much more dimensions or the diversity of the consequences to avoid the mistake? Because they believe like if we try to do out of the box, so maybe the responsibility, if the decision gets fault, will be coming on me. So that is one scenario. Okay, but the process also becomes an extreme test of intellectuals and analytical judgment, as well as it also showcases that if you are very bold in taking decision, in taking right decision, that means it's your personal strength and confidence, because the strengthful decision will be coming from the highest confidence a people have in their mind. That is the importance. Okay, so the officials just ignore the flip side of any disaster or the crisis, and it can lead to equally serious, like we have highlighted. Okay, hence there is a need to have accountability among the officials, because in a healthy democracy there is a need to have a principle of accountability, and we have to ask the question based on what parameters you have taken, whether you have incorporated the concerns of various peoples or not. Okay, so that is the thing. So real time documentation is crucial for accountability and review, which is necessary in a healthy democracy. So can we have an ideal solution? No, because in any decision making, in any sort of crisis, the idealistic viewpoint does not exist. We have to balance itself. We can have a better decision, but we cannot have the best decision, because there are ifs and buts in any decision process. Okay, so we can improve the decision making through better structure and processes. And there are certain sort of suggestions like a scaled level of responsibility based on impact area. Like we have already told you, like if the impact is very high in one area, so the responsibility should be very much higher in that area, rather that we are implementing the same responsibility despite both the area have distinct or the different consequences based on the impact. And apart from that, faster, more granular decision making process is needed in the crisis situation. There should be multiple decision makers and periodic review as well, and we must learn from the past and continuously improve our crisis response as well. So this is the end of this article, friends. Hope you understood, hope you analyzed, and this is like good article, and this gives you like how you should take the decision, because ultimately you are going to become an officer, so you have to take the decision. So decisions should be based on a certain stand, based on certain parameters, based on certain analysis. And if you do not analyze the visible as well as hidden consequence, so maybe the other sections, the poorer sections or the marginalized sections, will become prone to these type of disaster, and there can be the hidden hazard. Okay, so now we are shifting to the second article, and it is also related to GS paper 3 and Here we will be talking about Aadhaar payment based system. But first of all, we have to understand what's the context here. So from 1 January 2024 onwards, the wages under Manrega. What is Manrega? We are going to understand it. Okay. It will be paid only through Aadhaar based payment system. And in this payment system, it requires that your Aadhaar details, the workers' Aadhaar details, is to be linked, is to be seeded with their job cards. Okay. So there will be like linking the Aadhaar card with the Manrega workers' job card, so that by entering the Aadhaar details, the authentication will be successful and the amount, the beneficiary, the subsidy will be delivered directly to the bank account. So it looks to be good, like it will reduce corruption, it will ensure transparency, accountability, many more things. But if you analyze deeper with respect to this context, so there are certain faults, the lacuna that needs to be resolved. Okay, but first of all, let's understand the Manrega. So when we talk about Manrega, it stands for Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, and it came in 2005. It ensures that 100 days wage employment assurance. That means minimum guarantees that you will be getting 100 days employment, and if you are not getting the employment, then unemployment allowances in terms of money will be provided to you, and there is fixed timeline for payment of wage, like within 15 days the payment will be delivered to your bank account, and if not, then compensation will be there for delayed payment as well. So apart from that, there is a boost up to transparency and accountability, and now with the seeding of the Aadhaar and the bank account, the wages to be credited to the bank or the post office account directly without the need of physical cash in terms of the wages. Okay, so that is the features, that is the basic features. And now we are coming to the main point. So we have talked about like the money will be transferred to the beneficiary account directly without the involvement of physical cash giving and taking. Okay, so that is one thing. So these all are based on Aadhaar payment system. And what is this system? It's like a payment system based on Aadhaar numbers issued by Unique Identification Authority of India, and this system is implemented by National Payment Corporation of India, NPCI. Tell me some basics about NPCI, because it can be asked in the prelims question. It was already asked in the prelims as well. So in this mechanism, what happens, like your Aadhaar card will be taken care of, your Aadhaar card will be taken and it will be linked to the bank account. And as you know, nowadays each and every bank account in India have their linkage with the Aadhaar card. So your Aadhaar card will be utilized, and based on biometric authentication, okay, it will be verified and the wages will be transferred to your bank account. Okay, and this system is used for like fund transfer, subsidy transfer under the direct benefit transfer scheme, which launched by Government of India under Digital India program. So that is one thing. Hope you understood the basics of this Aadhaar payment based system. And this induction of bank account into Aadhaar payment based system has two distinct steps. The first step is the bank account must be seeded or linked with the customer's Aadhaar number. Okay, so let's say if there is 5 bank accounts, okay, to a person, to a customer, and if these all are linked to the Aadhaar, so government will be able to know that from this Aadhaar data, like this person has 5 bank accounts. Okay, so indirectly government can also ensure the transparency and accountability as well. This is one another perspective. And the second step is it must be connected to the NPCI mapper. Okay, and what is NPCI mapping or the mapper? Basically it has a repository of Aadhaar number, okay, which is maintained by this Aadhaar payment based system. And here, via this mapping, all over the transactions, Aadhaar payment based transaction which occurs, that is transferred, that is routed to the destination bank accounts, and hence the beneficiary gets the money into their bank account. That is the simple concept. And if there is a multiple accounts, okay, let's say there is a Manrega worker, okay, they have multiple accounts, so on which account the amount will be transferred? So it will be based on the latest mapped account. Okay, it will be the latest. So that is one scenario. But the government, for this type of system, they had took many mass step, like Jan Dhan Yojana. The government brought Jan Dhan Yojana, and you know that under Jan Dhan Yojana, government opened many accounts, crores of new accounts as well. Okay, but in this mass opening of the account, there was the opening of superfluous account as well, and the account was opened, but also improper verification was done, a flawed foundation. Thus is for the Aadhaar payment based system, because here you need to understand that payment will be transferred to the bank account. But let's say there is bank account which was linked with the Aadhaar card, but without proper verification of that account and the Aadhaar linkage, so there is a chances that the money which is being transferred from the government as a subsidy or as a pension amount, specifically for the older age population, they can go to the wrong account as well. Okay, and this is the scenario where the issue of diverted payment comes, where the payment that should be going to the real account, they're going to the wrong account, or that account which the beneficiary do not know about them. That's why there is a certain rise of the cases where many pensioners like stopped getting their pensions into their account. Okay, so this is known as diverted payment, and this cases is rising specifically in the region, in the state where there is less digitally literate people. Like we can have a case study of Jharkhand as well. Okay, so that is one thing. And apart from that, for opening up of the Jandhan account, verification was undermined. Like compulsion of eKYC was introduced, and you know that if you want to open the bank account, so eKYC will be there. That is based on biometric authentication for the Aadhaar verification. And also, ultimatum method was introduced by the banks. Like if you do not link your Aadhaar with the bank, okay, so your account will be blocked, your account will be ended. So because of this ultimatum method, many poor people accounts were blocked. Okay, and apart from that, many pensioners account were blocked because these were the poor people, and also they do not have the awareness about technical issue, about linkages, and there can be the data inconsistency as well. So did you understood what the problem is there? Okay, so there is a lacunas in the system, like a risky bridge without consent. That means there is forced Aadhaar payment based system implementation without proper consent, and this primarily affects the poor people. And apart from that, there is a discrepancy between National Corporation Payment of India, Unique Identification Authority of India guidelines. And in this guidelines, like they do talk about consent, like I am taking your Aadhaar number, I am linking your Aadhaar number, but for that consent is required. But these guidelines have like that much awareness which is needed is lacking here. Okay, and also it has been highlighted in the mass mapping of the bank accounts in Jharkhand that was without verification or KYC completion. Okay, so it has bigger impact repercussions on the life of the people, like diverted payments are rising. And diverted payments meaning what? Like let's say there is government. Okay, so government, and there is bank account A, bank account B. So government is trying to make payment for a pensioner. Okay, so suppose there is bank account A, bank account B, and this pensioner knows about its bank account, specifically B. Okay, he or she do not have the idea of bank account A. So government starts sending money to bank account A, but the pensioner sees that money is not coming. So that is the diverted payment. The payment that needs to be gone to the original account, they are getting diverted to the fake account. Okay, that was opened by mistake without consent. Okay, that is one thing. And the another scenario is like Manrega workers are struggling to assess their wage. And there's a recent study on the Indian School of Business that concluded that 38% of the Aadhaar payment based system payments of Manrega wages in Jharkhand, they are redirecting to a completely unrelated account. And we already told you, in Jharkhand the crisis is much more bigger. Okay, like in the Jharkhand there is a block, Boram block. Okay, and here hundreds of workers were mystified a few years ago when their wages stopped coming into their Bank of India account. And when proper investigation was done, so it was identified that wages were being redirected by this Aadhaar payment based system to ICICI account, and these accounts were opened by the business correspondents without their consent. Even these beneficiaries do not have the idea about these accounts. So that is the like flow which is going in this system. And apart from this diverted payment, a broader issue of accountability arrives, like rejected payment. Many payment gets rejected because of proper biometric authentication lacks. Okay, sometimes the fingerprint do not work, many more things. And there is lack of accountability, opaque system, no clear recourse for victims, and ineffective resolution procedures. And let's say if there is a crisis occurs, okay, sometimes payment do not get delivered, so a pensioner or the poor people goes to the bank to analyze what the issue, what the problem. Okay, so they do not respond correctly. So there is a lack of implementation of citizen charter as well. Okay, so there is a apathy of promoting agency like NPCI and RBI. That is the thing. Hence, we need to have an urgent change, independent review and accountability for this scheme, and then we will be having the improved grievance redressal mechanism. So we need to protect the vulnerable people from the detrimental effect of the flawed government system, and it's the need of the hour. We need to have a evaluation of this system. So that is the end of the article, friends. Hope you understood, hope you enjoyed. And now we have the last session, and you have to pause the video, you have to solve the question for the prelims. Okay, so just pause, solve, and give your response in the chat box. So thank you, friends, thank you very much. We will be meeting next day with new short of discussion. Thank you, have a nice day, happy new year once again.